world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen.
Then with a crash came a great ringing shout. Ra, Oom, Ra.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
It's talking about Tolkien, Ben.
It's talking about Tolkien, Nate. Do you know what chapter it is?
Chapter 9.
No.
8.
There you go.
Chapter 8, Book 2 of Fellowship of the Ring. Farewell to Lorien.
Yep. Now, ideally, this will be a short one. It never works out that
No can do.
Not a lot happens. They get some boats, and they get in the river.
And the elves prove that they could probably solve world hunger, but they don't. Yeah. So, let's get on to that. Starts out with, I keep wanting to call him Celebrimbor, but that's not the guy.
No, he's Celeborn.
Celeborn. So he's a lesser version of Celebrimbor. He's got 1 less syllable. So
well, he didn't fall for the Lord of Gifts, so.
But he also didn't make magic rings. So
I guess, yeah. That's not working out so well for Celebrimbor.
I mean, he's dead, right?
Yeah, because of the rings.
Yeah. I mean, but it worked out well for his kind.
Kind of. I mean...
Yeah, you wouldn't have Lothlorien or Rivendell. Instead, you'd be like Mirkwood. Gross. Don't be like Mirkwood, all right?
I think it's the sustainability problem here. It's like, you know how like Las Vegas is a nice metropolis in the middle of the desert, but...
Yeah, it would be awesome to have a ring of water that you could use to maintain that for a few 100 years or 1,000 years, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you go to Vegas and you completely lose track of time and you lose all your money and you're miserable and you're hungover and you go home and you're like, fuck, I can't wait to go back. I hope that place will continue to exist for the next few decades of my life because there's not a lot of water out there.
Las Vegas
it's a gigantic city.
It's not my scene. I went to California. I've only been to California once, and I was
that's enough.
I was in the desert part of it. I don't know. I shouldn't say. I guess I was in the desert. I mean, I feel like I was probably an hour outside of Los Angeles. I flew into Palm Springs. And they just like, I don't know how everybody there is not freaking out all the time.
Because right now, the water's still on. You have to conserve. You can't have lawns. And all of the water is being diverted to like almond farming or whatever. But
I guess it's weird coming from somebody who lives next to a bunch of rivers and not too far from the ocean. Like, I guess we weren't too far from the ocean there either. But like, man, there was just not an ounce of water anywhere in the landscape except the golf courses.
Well, you gotta have them on the golf courses. How else are you going to get rich and famous people like O.J. Simpson out there?
I honestly like this comparison of the rings sustaining the Elven Kingdoms to the overdevelopment of areas with inadequate water supply. This is actually legit.
So what is the one ring in our world? Is it just global warming?
How long can we keep stealing the entire Rio Grande or whatever? Or the entire Colorado River?
The Colorado River. Yeah. Well, it's running pretty low. And don't go further east to the Kansas River. That you don't want to drink from it. Yeah. You don't want to put that in your body. So then you go to the Missouri River, and that's way, way far away. But I guess you could just ask Nestle how to steal large quantities of water.
I guess the one ring in this situation is just like the hubris of man.
So
A demon didn't need to forge a One Ring. This is just going to fall apart on its own.
Can you imagine if that's all Sauron had to do is just bide his time?
I mean,
like instead of surfacing now, just surface a few centuries from now. We've already done ourselves in.
Theoretically, the Lord of the Rings is supposed to be our world's mythological past, so
yeah,
it is kind of going that way. But that goes back to that long defeat quote of this whole thing ends with Morgoth coming back in a massive war that destroys the earth.
Yeah. It'd be awesome if maybe we didn't do that, you know?
Well, have you looked around? We're gonna. I feel like I'm fighting a long defeat. I don't know about you.
I think long is the word here. I might disagree with you.
I think, yeah, I honestly thought it would be a longer defeat than it's turning out to be, but
planes started falling from the sky almost immediately.
Yeah.
It was almost weird how that happened.
It was kind of.
That was the thing that tipped me off in that one book by Paul Tremblay that maybe this was all real. Like, planes shouldn't just start falling from the sky, right?
Can you imagine if somebody just showed up to a cabin after Trump was elected? And they just turned on the TV. You got to kill somebody. Look at what's going on. But we're not here to talk about Paul Tremblay. That's Words About Books. This is talking about Tolkien. Celeborn is doing some stuff. What's he doing?
Yeah, Celeborn is he's kicking him out. It's time to go. I mean, I guess you could stay here and, you know, I can't guarantee it's going to be safe for you. Like you're probably going to have to stay here until this is all over or until we're under siege and we all die.
Well, so what Celeborn tells them is, you got really two choices. You go now. This is the only time it's going to be clear for you to go, because what he's saying is we're going to be under siege.
Just like Rivendell. Yeah.
Yeah. We're being surrounded actively. So if this is your window.
Yeah, they even find out that to the north from whence they came, you can't go back that way now.
Yeah.
So now
there's this big booming thunder and lightning coming down on the mountain. We're not sure what that's about. There's
lots of smoke.
Yeah.
a little weird. I don't want to go up there. You don't want to go up there. Stay away from the mountain. Then there's going to be a big ass river. River Anduin. Is that how you say that? That's how I'm saying it.
And you know what has always bothered me? And listeners may clock this. If you ever played World of Warcraft, there's one of the main characters now is Prince Anduin. I don't know if he's a king. I haven't followed the World of Warcraft story, but there's a guy.
From where? The royal bloodline was wiped out. I saw it.
Oh, you're talking about No, I'm talking about World of Warcraft. I don't remember who was king. I don't care. I didn't play Alliance. But the human leader.
No, I'm talking about like Arthas killed his dad and then became an evil lich monster. I assumed that we were done.
Yeah, well, that kingdom is gone, but there was Stormwind still. That's where that's where the humans come from in World of Warcraft.
I thought Stormwind was wiped out even before Lord Aeron. Or am I thinking of a different human kingdom?
I think Lord Aeron's in the north, and Stormwind is more to the south. I forget. I'm not here to talk about that. The point is, there was a guy in Warcraft named Anduin, and it always bothered me because that's the river.
Well, it was named after him, Ben. World of Warcraft is canon to Lord of the Rings, confirmed.
They fucking wish it was.
So we're going to go down the river Anduin, and you have to make a choice at some point. You want to go on the west bank, which will take you to Minas Tirith, or the east bank, which will go through the Dead Marshes. And Boromir, he's thinking west bank. West bank all the way, guys. If I had my way, we'd go right through Minas Tirith. Solid plan. We should do that. Celeborn, he's like, I'm not here to counsel you. I really, really, really do not want the burden of having to make decisions for you. Do not put that bad juju on me. So I'm gonna get you some boats, and you guys are gonna just like figure it out. And it looks like, all right, I think 3 boats will work because you got 3 guys who know how to. They took the requisite points in vehicle handling or boat handling or whatever that is. Um, so you got Legolas, Boromir, and Aragorn, and then Mary's like, "Hey, I also I also know my way around a boat," and he's like, "Yeah, sure, okay, yeah, I'm sure that your little itty bitty baby river up in the Shire. Yeah, you know what? I'm still going to give you 3 boats, but I'll mark that down that Mary the Hobbit could totally steer one of these boats if he wanted to. He's not gonna, but like he could fill in if someone gets sick or dies or something. So I'll mark that down. All right, I won't forget about you, Mary. So yeah, eventually you're gonna have to pick one bank or the other, Ben. You can't have perhaps both choices. You have to pick one or the other.
So
And
I got an interesting quote of this is we're well diverged from the movies at this point, but
what, the fact that Aragorn doesn't want to make a decision, is very indecisive and has no idea which way he wants to go, and really wants to hold off that decision as long as possible. And maybe the decision will just make itself for him, you know? Wouldn't that be awesome if the decision could just be made for him? What are
so
the odds of that, though?
that's a big part of this. But in the movie, in the extended editions, I think there is a scene after they're in the boats. This is probably actually the next chapter, but there's a scene where Aragorn talks to Boromir, and Boromir's like, uh, we could go to Minas Tirith," and Aragorn's like, "Absolutely not. We will not go to Minas Tirith." And uh, they have a big fight about how he can't trust the ring in a big city like that. And Boromir's like, "Well, you were quick enough to trust the elves," and he's like, "I would not bring the ring within 100 leagues of your city because Aragorn also hates humans because
Yeah.
they're terrible."
Yeah.
And
I
in the
hate, if only I were born an elf.
in the in the book, uh, Aragorn's actually his whole plan was to always go with Boromir,
Yes.
assume the throne, and fight
But
Mordor.
unfortunately, Gandalf is gone, and Aragorn's like, well, I can't really abandon the ring. Like, I kind of figured Gandalf would
Yeah,
stay with
Gandalf
the
would go with
ring,
Frodo,
and
and I'd
I
go
would
with
go to
Boromir.
Maris. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But now I got a Gandalf. I'm not as good at Gandalfing as Gandalf was at Gandalfing, but, like,
and
I gotta try.
so and then there's the other problem of the group is not entirely sure that they can get to Mordor. It's looking bad. It has not gone well from the get go, and they might need to rethink. Like, do we go with option B, which is just fucking fight him? We fight Sauron to the death.
Oh, I love this part. Boromir is like, I will go to Minas Tirith no matter what you guys decide. I just want to let you know that right now. And then he just starts staring at Frodo for a prolonged period of time and just staring at him. And there's an awkward silence. Frodo's looking around like, fuck is he staring at me for? And then Boromir is just like, I mean, I guess you could, if all you want to do is destroy the ring, then you shouldn't go to Minas Tirith, but it'd be really foolish to just destroy the ring. I mean, lives. Lives is what I was trying to say. I realize I'm now speaking my thoughts out loud. I meant to say lives. Obviously, I want to destroy the ring, just like everyone here does. Am I right, fellows?
Yeah. So basically, that's basically how it goes, with just one little detail. And this is kind of what I was getting at. Frodo knows exactly why Boromir is looking at him. And
Yes.
Frodo stares Boromir down. Boromir backs down. And in fact, when they're wondering what to do, the group is sitting there going back and forth. And Frodo hasn't said anything, and Aragorn hasn't said anything.
Aragorn isn't really paying attention.
No, they're talking about where they will go, Minas Tirith or
Yeah.
And it says they would have been willing to follow a leader over the river and into the shadow of Mordor. But Frodo spoke no word, and Aragorn was still divided in his mind. So it considers Frodo as a possible leader for the party.
Yeah, he has that high charisma score.
Frodo caught something new and strange in Boromir's glance, and he looked at him hard. Plainly, Boromir's thought was different from his final word. It would be folly to throw away what? The ring?
No, of course not, Frodo. I would never say or even think that, but we should go to Minas Tirith.
But so that's just another interesting change from the movie is that Frodo
doesn't need to be told by Galadriel he will take the ring from you.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't need to be told that. It's obvious what's starting to happen, and also Frodo is seen as a leader in this quest.
Because he
isn't a man child that needs to be carried from here to there
constantly.
Yeah. I don't know, I thought that's worth pointing out one more time because we've talked about the movie.
We talked about it a lot, especially in the first book where he was leading his Hobbit brigade, and he was like, "No, get off the road, but like, I want to see what's looking for us."
Yeah, he's
and
not
then he
coward.
Pulls his sword. He was ready to fight a Nazgul, knowing that it wasn't going to work for him.
Yeah, no, he knows what he's about. And you do have to keep in mind, he's like, what, 50? Yeah, he is a 50-year-old man. Like, he's not a child, which is something they changed for the movies. I think for obvious reasons, is nobody's that interested in watching a tiny 50-year-old man do this stuff. But yeah,
probably age slower or whatever. So
you do with the ring.
So now, next day, we're going to give you cram, but it's limbus bread. Gimli eats like way more than you should eat. They're like, hey, all right, you just ate enough for like an entire day just now. You need to, like, that's an emergency ration when you're running out of all your others, sir.
So I wanted to ask you two things.
Have I ever had cram?
Do you know what cram is?
Isn't it just a field ration, essentially?
Yeah, it's what do they call it? Ship's biscuit, hardtack.
Yeah, hardtack is the one I thought of. It's basically just a biscuit that's it's supposed to taste great, but it's there to keep you going.
It's so hard it needs to be softened with water before you can eat it, because they bake all moisture out of it to the point where
we need to preserve it.
I think it's shelf stable for like a decade.
Yeah. We need it to be shelf stable for as long as humanly possible, because you never know when you're going to need to start eating your cram. When you can't forage, this is what George R. R. Martin needed, Ben. He needed lots and lots of cram.
It's crazy how a guy who was actually in a war thought about this. But yeah, one will keep a traveler on his feet for a day of long labor. And this is another line. And I think Jackson Crawford even called attention to this when he was doing his read-through.
Wow, he's already surpassed us on his read-through?
He's finished.
Wow. Way to make us look second rate.
We are second rate.
We tried our best.
This is our best, but...
This is our best.
Yeah. No, one will keep a traveler on his feet for a day of long labor, even if he be one of the tall men of Minas Tirith. How tall are elves?
Less than a man, but more than a hobbit and a dwarf.
That's what I'm getting. I think elves are supposed to be smaller.
Yeah,
but he's
and more
never
nimble
consistent.
and hotter. God damn, are they hot, you know? God damn. Even the ones from Mirkwood, even though you wouldn't want to hang out with them because they're garbage people who will imprison you for being hungry. That's a crime in Mirkwood.
Well, it's a crime to trespass in Mirkwood. And then not give any account to the king of why you're there with a group of armed warriors in his lands. But you know, you could choose to interpret that however you want. But yeah, we'll get more into Lembas as things go on. But the Lembas it's basically magic bread. And it is specifically for when all other food it is to sustain you when all other methods fail.
Yeah. Load my boat up with, give me a fourth boat with nothing but Limbus bread cram. I want a boat of cram.
And did you also catch? So everybody
That
gets.
he calls them Bjornings.
Well, no, I mean that's
Oh,
fine. And they're Beor names, but
Bjornings.
they all get a magic cloak, right?
Yeah.
And
Is it magic? No, it's not. We just have the. This is what we weave all of our stuff out of.
they don't know
This is
what
common.
they don't know what he means by magic, and this is Tolkien's famous soft magic system.
I don't know what you mean by magic, but this cloak will always be as warm or as cold as you need it to be. It blends in with everything. It's the perfect fabric. It'll never get dirty. But you do have to dry clean only.
Basically,
So
it looks different in different environments. And
so is it magic? No, it's not magic. It's just what you have is like you weren't even wearing clothes when you got into this forest. Okay,
so
I'm gonna be real. Those were rags. They were garbage rags from peasant people, and we're here with our superior elven cloaks.
They were wearing clothes made in Rivendell, but that's okay.
Okay, fine. Let me upgrade you to slightly better peasant because Lorien dunks on Rivendell all the time.
The quote is, "We put the thought of all that we love into all that we make." And that is basically the crux of most of the magic, aside from sort of the stuff Gandalf does in the Mirror of Galadriel. The things that might be the powers of the ring, we're not sure.
So when you put a little bit of yourself into it, it becomes magic?
Yeah.
So words about books is magic then. Confirmed. That's canon now. We put a little bit of ourselves into this fucking podcast, Ben.
Yeah, that's how Tolkien viewed art. I don't think he'd view this as art, but
too bad. That's canon now.
Technically, that's how he thinks. Yeah, is that Tolkien?
Would he have viewed a radio show as art?
He participated in several.
There you go. All right, we're artists, Ben.
I think this is his thing, though, is he didn't like mechanization or industrialization because it took craftsmanship out of things. I think he's got a point with that. He's trying to say, like, obviously he doesn't think it's literally magic when somebody makes some artisanal product, but there's something different about something handmade versus something factory made.
I view something from like, Da Vinci, and then I look at Andy Warhol and I'm like, these are not the same. These are two very, one's an artist and one is the copy and paste function on Microsoft Paint.
One's an artist and one's just a guy who had a lot of cocaine and everybody wanted to hang out with him.
I mean, that kind of sounds like an artist.
Da Vinci didn't have a lot of cocaine. I guess that's my point that I know of. Maybe he did. That would actually explain his productivity.
All right. So yeah, 3 boats: Sam, Frodo, Aragorn in one, Boromir, Merry, Pippin in another, and Gimli and Legolas in one because they're friends now. They've bonded. They're friends.
Yep.
And then Sam is like, "Holy shit! What is this rope? I want to learn how to make this rope. I need to know about this rope." And they're like, "Yeah,
dude, you should have said something.
You should have said something earlier.
You were here for like a month." Sam's like, "What?"
So they depart, and then Celeborn and Galadriel show up in a swan ship. I imagine it's one of those plastic ones with the paddles.
I did picture that. I couldn't help but picture that. I pictured
I've been in one of those. Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, a majestic swan paddle boat. Just a giant paddle boat.
Beep beep. Galadriel's gonna sing you a song. and she sings a song about sorrow and sadness because that's all the elves ever seem to do.
Well, this is because
God.
she's saying goodbye to Lorien because you're gonna kill it with your quest.
Yeah, cry me a river. You had your chance to take the ring from him and become a Dark Queen and preserve it forever. You chose to fade away. That one's on you. Now you'll have to get in your boat and sail to Elf Heaven, where you will live in paradise forever. Boo-hoo.
Already she seemed to him as by men of later days elves still at time are seen, present and yet remote, a living vision of that which has already been left far behind by the flowing streams of time.
Yeah, I thought that was a really great line.
Did you?
Points. Yeah, I wrote that one down.
Wow. Yeah, they're going to have their second official goodbye.
It's
on
a
the
little
boat.
picnic because the Lord and the Lady realized that they were really bad hosts because they never had food with their guests. So they were like, oh, we got to save face. Let's go have a picnic real quick on our swan paddle boat.
They just wanted to show off the boat. Like, okay,
I
look,
thought it was because they didn't want to be seen with these guests.
Lorien's
around their
over,
friends.
but I do have a yacht, so
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm a boatman like Mary, but way we can find out, subscribe to that yacht plan.
Yeah.
So she talks about the Entwash and the Fangorn Forest, and why does no one know about what's inside the Fangorn Forest? Why don't we know this? Because they don't know, and they've literally had forever to go and look around, but they just don't.
Well,
and humans don't.
If you walk into Fangorn Forest, the trees kill you.
Yeah, so did the old forest.
And
what else is new?
People just stop walking into that forest. There's only one tree in the old forest that kills you. No, I guess
That's
more.
not true. All the other trees were moving around.
I
We
don't
had
know,
to chop a bunch of them down and burn them.
They didn't have the Hobbit Death Squad on it.
So, all right, we're going to give gifts for the Fellowship before they leave. Sheath for Aragorn's sword, as well as an elf stone of House Elendil. You want anything else? And Aragorn's like, yeah, I want a sexy elf wife. But
Done.
Obviously, yeah, you can't give me that. I got to go fight this Dark Lord real quick. That's why I'm doing this quest.
I could get you that if you were the king of all men.
Yeah. Done. I'm doing it.
I'm working.
That's why I'm doing it. I need that shit.
But I also think the elf stone they give him is called Elisar, and that's the name he goes by. That's his elf name.
Oh.
So it's symbolic.
Okay. Well, Elisar wants Ben, so he's going off to Mordor. You're editing it, so you can decide.
I say that's the only reason anyone does anything.
This is fair. This is fair. Boromir, he gets a gold belt. Merry and Pippin get smaller silver belts to indicate who the dom in the relationship is. Sam gets some dirt.
Okay, so I like how Merry and Pippin get these belts because you can almost hear Galadriel and Celeborn being like, what should we get Merry and Pippin? He's like, I don't know. I've never talked to them. I don't know anything about them. I mean, we know Legolas shoots bows. Aragorn's got that fancy sword. Sam is a gardener. I don't know. Give him a belt. It's nice. Everybody likes a belt. Okay, everybody needs a belt. Their pants are riding low. So Galadriel's gift is actually kind of important.
Which one?
The one, well, all of them, I guess, but the one she gives to Sam.
The gold belt's important?
The bow is important.
I'm like, yeah, Boromir, Merry, and Pippin, you all got got belts, and like 2 of you got silver belts. Well, 1 of you got a gold belt. So I don't know what that's about, but I would feel kind of slighted. Like, oh, they got me a belt, and also it's the same as my friend's belt, but a lesser medal compared to my other friend's belt. And like I know he can steer the ship, but like I can steer the ship too. I've been on a boat in the Brandywine, okay? I don't know why people keep laughing when I say that.
Okay, so that's a nice belt, Mary. But it's important to note that she doesn't just give Sam dirt, and I know how this is going to sound. She gives him magic dirt.
Yeah.
Okay? And you know these trees we've been talking up?
These trees, they only can exist in this forest because they don't exist anywhere else?
Yeah, because they're magical trees of, like, incredible properties that, like, are the greatest living plants of all time, and any gardener would love to have them. Well, guess what, buddy? Here's the seeds, and here's the magic dirt to grow them.
Wait, they gave him seeds? I thought he was just going to throw the dirt in his garden and then grow all kinds of fancy shit.
I don't know if they give him seeds. He does get seeds, though, because he does grow these trees.
Oh, I was going to say, because, like, everyone else is going to have those really shitty natural strawberries that look awful and they're, like, white. And Sam's going to have our modern-day juicy red strawberries because of this dirt.
Well, I'll tell you, this is maybe a spoiler. Due to a series of unfortunate circumstances, the party tree in the Shire is torn down.
Damn.
And to replace the party tree, Sam grows the Malorn trees.
Wow. I don't even know how he did that. Why haven't we been exporting this dirt everywhere? Spreading some of that magic around.
Probably because you know how we talked about magic giving a part of yourself? That's probably what Galadriel had to do here.
Yeah, but you've got a magic ring. You can stretch yourself pretty thin. I think you could try a little harder.
Try a little harder to export this. Well, counterpoint, I don't want to.
I guess that's fair. I'm going to go destroy that one ring now. Fuck you. Age of Man. Yeah, Legolas gets a much nicer bow that was made by real elven craftsmen who didn't detain their guests in a dungeon.
They weren't guests. They were trespassers.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was say what he was doing there.
Yeah, we're traveling through your fucking spooky forest full of spiders. By the way, you're welcome for killing them. From the west end to the east end.
Oh, did you kill those spiders?
Yeah, you throw rocks at them and they die pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah, Did you do that, Thorin?
I led the party that did it. So...
we share XP.
Exactly. That's how that works. But what does Gimli want? He's like, yeah, nothing, just knowing that you exist or whatever sentimental bullshit. But no. She's like, no.
Gimli, you're
I gotta give you something. Come on. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna ask this of you, but you said to tell you, so how about a single strand of your hair to treasure forever? And I said, Ben can explain this because I'm pretty sure I read and looked somewhere. This is
a big deal.
Important. This is a bigger deal than Gimli even realizes.
But first, let's examine Gimli's riz, okay? And what gift would a dwarf ask of the elves? Said Galadriel. None, lady, answered Gimli. It is enough for me to have seen the Lady of the Galadrim, and to have heard her gentle words. Hear, all ye elves, she cried to those about her. Let none again say that dwarves are grasping and ungracious. Yet surely Gimli's...
Jesus Christ. Sorry I said anything. Fuck.
Everybody's gonna did you guys hear what he just said to me? And you are sitting here saying all those slurs. Oh,
he didn't just immediately ask for dwarven gold and gems, guys.
Okay. So Galadriel is a legendary beauty, and one of the features that is most beautiful about her that male elves have fixated on, and one male elf in particular, perhaps the greatest uh, craftsman, magicer, artificer of the elves, Feanor, fixated on was.
Oh, this is that one guy who swore vendetta against evil god, and
yeah,
it went really well for everyone.
So Feanor was fixated on Galadriel's hair and Galadriel herself. And everybody loved Feanor except Galadriel, who claimed she sensed a darkness about him.
I mean, he did swear.
Yeah, well, this is
blood
before
oath against-
he did anything. So he wanted to do exactly what Gimli's talking about doing. He was obsessed with jewel crafting, which was like a new art at the time. It was a long time ago.
I'm sure this won't lead to anything bad.
And he asked if he could have a strand of her hair. And she said, "You know."
Those were her exact words.
And
ew, no.
And I believe they're, well, to maybe you know her this, I think they're related. They're both Noldor.
Well, that just makes it hotter, according
Is
to
she his niece?
Fire and Blood. I hope so.
I think she might be his niece.
Hell yeah.
Don't quote me on this.
Hell yeah.
But it's weird.
It's not as weird as brother and sister, but you know, you didn't know just how hot Aegon's sisters were, you know?
I don't know that Feanor was necessarily sexually fixated on her.
No, because elves are weird asexual beings. They reproduce like once every 600 years, and then they just fuck off and get killed by God or whatever.
That's all inaccurate. They're strictly monogamous. There is a lot written about how they have children. So basically an elf, first 100 years of their life, sort of maturing, around 100 to 200, they sort of perfect whatever like craft they're going to do the rest of their life or whatever.
And then none of that is pounding, Ben.
Then they get married.
And then another like 200 years go by when they're like, oh, I can finally afford an apartment.
Well, then they get married. Then there's their childbearing years of like maybe the next 200 years they can have children. And then whether it's biological or just a choice, after that, they no longer have children. I do think
they just decide like I'm done. Like
I think they can. I think an elf. I think at the very least, an elf woman can choose.
Well, that's
not very Catholic of Tolkien.
Yeah, that's horrible. I bet you're gonna say next that they can vote too, and I disapprove. Suffrage should only be really reserved for both men and property-owning men and men who are already in power. Actually,
you know what? No one votes.
Like
no
monarchy.
Votes for anyone.
Well,
yeah.
The king can vote on who should be king, and there's only one choice.
Yes, so that's why it's such a huge deal. She refused this offer to Feanor, the greatest gem crafter of all time, the greatest elven smith of all time, creator of the Silmarils, maker of War Against Satan, and also loser of War Against Satan. And
yep, that is all accurate. Yeah, I've heard lots of great things about other people, not him.
And to Gimli, son of Gloin, she says, that your hands shall flow with gold, yet over you gold shall have no dominion. And I think this is why she chose to grant Gimli this gift when she would not grant it to Feanor, because Feanor became obsessed with his material possessions, particularly his own work, and
he was one of those guys at Panera telling the other elves about this great thing he just did, and he's got to tell you all about it.
Bro, it's called a Silmaril, and it is so shiny.
Hold on. Oh, that one was really good.
Can I have your hair?
Ew, no.
And that's how it happened. So yeah, so to Gimli, she senses in Gimli that he is not like that. And dwarves now, and you could call this like quasi-racist, but I guess dwarves have a reputation of highly prizing riches and stuff. Like their main thing is mining. They love it. So Gimli, he's gonna have it all.
Like Steve.
He's gonna be a great.
Black.
Oh, fuck that. No, he's gonna be a great leader of dwarves, but that will have no hold on his soul. He will be able to enjoy it without becoming consumed by it.
Nice. We're gonna go kill a Balrog.
Oh, good thing about that. I actually heard a weird report the other day. I did highlight it with a and my note says Balrog ? This is just a different guy who was like, "Hey guys, I have returned from the northern fences, and I am sent now to be your guide. The Dimril Dale is full of vapor and clouds of smoke, and the mountains are troubled. There are noises in the deeps of the earth. If any of you had thought of returning northwards to your homes, that's not going to happen."
Yeah.
So the Balrog is busy.
And Galadriel gives a file to Frodo and said, "This is a surprise tool that can help us out later."
In this file I have captured the light of a star.
It's a flashlight. You turn on, and it's going to be real helpful later on when you get in a certain situation.
Okay. But did you catch all the mentions of Valar in this?
Were they in song?
No.
Oh. Are you sure?
Let me see where
Are they sure they weren't the translation of the song?
The translation of the song is where a lot of it is, but the reason that's important is because they're talking about Elendil and the light of the captured star, and Varda, the goddess who made the stars.
She can make another one.
Yeah, she can, but
how hard could it be?
She doesn't need to. I got you the light of the star, and now you have it. And I'm trying to tell you that our most holy and revered goddess, Varda, who in these lands is called Elbereth, and we mentioned that before. That's
when you start throwing multiple names at me at once, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm sure Ben will keep track of that for me, because they start talking about like, okay, you're gonna go this way down the river. Now you don't want to go too far down the river because on the left will be this and on the right will be that, and that leads to that. So you want to go off kind of midstream, and you want to go off on either the right, and that will be this place, or you go left, but you want to get away from the Entwash, which we call for the filthy Ents that live in the Fangorn forest that will pummel you to death. So, and I'm just like, okay, well, I caught some of that, and I hope the rest isn't important.
The directions aren't super important. He's mainly just setting up that they have a complicated choice. That basically, I think what he's trying to tell you with the directions is
you're fucked.
It would seem easy. It would seem the easier road is to go to Gondor, because
we're not gonna take the easy road.
That's another place where somebody can take care of you. Like, if you go to Gondor, you'll be safe behind these big walls, and nobody's going to bother you. The road is safer. You'll get to Gondor safe. You're almost guaranteed to get to Gondor safe. But once you get there, you're also almost guaranteed you're not getting out.
Yeah.
So the only option left, if you go to
Even
Gondor,
if the men in Gondor didn't covet the ring, it's already besieged.
well, it's not quite yet. They're losing.
The only way out is across this battlefield over here.
Yeah, the city is not fully under siege yet, but they're losing territory. The thing is, they're going to, like, Boromir's plan and Aragorn's plan is, we're going to fight Sauron. We're going to stage a military campaign against Sauron. We're going to see if we can do this.
It's working out really well for us right now, but I think if we add 4 hobbits, an elf, a dwarf, and 2 dudes, we might be able to turn the tide.
Yeah, and the other problem is, in the books, Denethor is actually a competent commander. He's not failing because he's a coward and insane. He's failing because he is just totally overwhelmed by the numbers.
That is unfortunate. It would be really awesome if we could just replace him and turn the tide right away.
Yeah,
but,
can't do that.
But yeah, I mean, as we've shown in the book, Sauron's forces are literally everywhere.
Yeah, so the harder road, where you're pretty likely to just die on the road, is to go to Mordor. But yeah, and that's kind of where Aragorn's like, I need to claim the crown for a lot of reasons, Frodo. But also, like, I need to claim the crown for a couple of reasons. Like, one, it is probably humanity's best shot if he could come back and sort of, like, you know, lead from the front there. But also, like, Frodo, how in God's name are you going to make it to Mordor? And then Frodo's just sort of sitting there thinking, like, I'm going to die. So
Boromir can carry me.
Frodo's just like, I'm gonna die, and I guess I just get to choose if I'm remembered as a coward or a hero. So I'm probably gonna have to go east. And Sam's just sitting there like, you know, we obviously have to go east, right? Like, what are you people even talking about? Like, we did the wizard told us we have to destroy the ring. The elf man told us we had to destroy the ring. That's what we're gonna do, right? Like, why are you guys making this complicated?
And Boromir's like, God, it would be such a waste to not go west.
Boromir's just like, I know he acts tough, but I could take Frodo, right? He's 2 feet tall. Like, come on.
I could grab him and rip him in half.
He's a third my size, and he's 50. I gotta be able to take him, right?
and Gimli, a lot of Gimli in this chapter.
Gimli's just like, man, I got that hair. I'm gonna put it in a crystal.
I thought the true danger was the darkness I had run into on this quest, but it turns out it sucks just as hard to be exposed to, like, pure joy and light and then not have that anymore. And Legolas is like, yeah, that does suck, but your consolation prize is you'll always remember it vividly in your mind as if you were there. And Gimli's like, that's not how my memory works. And Legolas is like, shut up, Gimli, let's go.
He does say that. He's like, at least you can choose to, you know, lie looking at the stars and reliving that experience as if it were happening to you right now. Right? We can all do that, right? Do you guys not remember your own birth? Nah, it's yeah, Gimli, that's another change from the movies, is Gimli is obviously not a joke.
What? He got to kill all those goblins, though, in Helm's Deep. And he got thrown onto the bridge because he couldn't jump across. He needed to be tossed across.
Don't tell the elf. Yeah, no, Gimli, he's deep. He got deep philosophy. Yeah, that's pretty much this chapter, though.
Yeah. What a short discussion we had, clocking in just under an hour.
if you count the parts that were actually about Lord of the Rings, we did pretty good.
All of that was about Lord of the Rings. We just also used allegory and attached it to modern times.
We didn't even start talking about Lord of the Rings until like 15 minutes in.
It's not true. We were talking about the long defeat, Ben.
Well, speaking of the long defeat, we're almost done with this book.
Yeah.
What
you
do we have?
got the River Anduin, which is the next chapter, and then you got the chapter where the Fellowship breaks for
lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 chapters left. So I have a question for you. This needs to be in the recording, but I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it in for the patrons at any rate. What do you want to do about the next one? Are we taking another break?
Yeah, take a short break, yeah. Give me time to read up on it, get a little ahead.
So do we want to keep recording during that time?
Yeah, we can. And then we can get a few episodes banked, and then also you can do some editing on the main feed.
I was gonna say, because that's the to catch back up on Fellowship of the Ring, we've had to get a little creative with our editing schedules. So yeah, I think we are looking at another short break between books. What do you say, 3 to 4 weeks, like a month?
Yeah, and do 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, so I'll take a 3 or 4 week break, and then we'll come back. We'll start recording before that, obviously, and if you are a Patreon member, hopefully you will get those episodes quicker. Have a spotty track record with that, though, in all fairness. So if you're only subscribing for that benefit, it's not much of a benefit, I'll be honest, but occasionally you do get them early. Full disclosure. So with that in mind, we'll see you the next time for our majestic boat adventure.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow it, if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet. And whither then, I cannot say.